And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. What a fun ride. I'm still here. Still got Suriel. Still got Kyle. We've been watching a lot of Dragon Ball Super. Not as much as some fans would want. We're not going through all of the Japanese version. We're talking about where the English dub is at, which I understand is amateur and not hardcore enough. We know
Goku Black.
Everyone's like, just talk about Goku Black. It's so exciting. But I love that era and that aura of mystery, of just knowing Goku Black's a thing. I think there's pink hair involved at some point. I don't really know what it is.
You mean Goku Rosé?
Is that right? I don't know.
It's very nostalgic to be watching the show and be like, you know, this is way ahead than what I know. Like, I can go look up what's going to happen, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of fun to get hints of, like, we're just in Japan and wandering around and seeing, like, the toys and shelves and stuff. We're like, what is this character? Hit? What a cool looking guy. Now I have I love that I just have a glimpse of what Hit's capable of.
This guy's going to be important.
Yeah, he seems very important in a confusing way. But Dragon Ball Super, I feel like you can't talk about it without talking about the two most recent movies, which we've talked about it on the Game Informer Show podcast before, but I just think those are like fan service, knocking it out of the park. I was so excited watching those two movies.
Battle of Gods, absolutely reignited by fandom. Like, I had gotten away from Dragon Ball. I played some of the games for work, you know, but once watching Battle of the Gods, like, I went back through Z, and we went and saw Resurrection F in theaters. Like,
that audience was so engaged by that film. Yeah, I think it's, again, if you want the hardcore Dragon Ball Z edge, it's not as satisfying there. But if you're just looking for, like, basically using Dragon Ball Z, all of Dragon Ball Z, all the drama as fuel for a wacky comedy with some good fights, and I think the art looks great in Dragon Ball Super. I understand people have a problem with the Saiyan, which we'll talk about a little bit later and whatnot, but I still think overall it's just so much fun to watch. And so first two seasons of Super, if you haven't watched it, are basically just those movies, extended, little details changed here and there. Season 3 we're also going to talk about, which is going to be different. But at least for me, on Funimation's website, it lists all of this as Season 1. Is it weird to call it seasons or sagas?
It is weird to call it. Sagas, I guess, is the right term, but it's weird because, like, if you buy the Season 1 Blu-ray, it like doesn't completely wrap up the Beerus saga.
Really?
It doesn't like pick back up until so seasons might be a weird thing to call it.
Like we talked about it at the beginning of this podcast episode, it's just, I really think they're blowing it. I understand it's a licensing nightmare, but just it's so tough to watch and know where to go, how it all works. Suriel, what's your read on Super so far?
So I didn't watch, I haven't watched Battle of Gods or Resurrection.
Interesting.
In fact, the first thing that I saw of Battle of Gods was a clip that Kyle sent me of Vegeta doing a dance. So I watched that without any context. I was like, this is the dumbest possible. This is the worst.
What are they doing with Dragon Ball?
Why is Vegeta would never, this is so out of character. But watching it in action is like the idea of like, okay, no, Vegeta 100% knows he's not going to win that fight. And he can't be Mr. Serious tough guy like 100% of the time because he's, he's married and has a child. So at some point he has to not be that person. So
sometimes,
in context, I feel like it works a little better, sort of him having to like stall basically. But coming into Super, I was sort of skeptical in the way that I think people were during GT of like nothing could ever, like fit with the set in stone sagas of,
it's like always going to feel like a money grab when you're having new transformations just so they can make new toys, like of course it's a money grab, but there can be fun within that money grab.
I think they do a pretty good job of establishing that this is going to be a little different. Like it's not going to be super serious fight all the time. I think my favorite thing about Super overall is how much of the world they've been establishing of sort of, I mean, basically they kind of wrote themselves into a corner at the end of Z of like, oh yeah, the bad guys are so strong they can destroy entire planets, and then sort of Super just escalates that of like, yeah, there are all sorts of universes that you can fight in, and the idea, basically, I like the idea of anything that sort of makes Goku the underdog of just he is the strongest person ever made or whatever, but there are other people out there who are also as strong or stronger in the case of the gods.
But if you have one gun, you can take out Goku, so don't worry about it, as Sorbet learned. But it was so fun. We love those movies, Kyle and I think we're really excited to get to like the season 3 stuff, talking about like the tournament.
I was a little disappointed that they were retellings of the films.
It really, I understand. It's like if you have those guidelines from Toriyama and they felt like, well, this is a good place to start with Dragon Ball Super and retell those stories. But even watching them, I I still would prefer just watching the movies. I think the movies are tighter. I think they're funnier. I like Super, especially season 3. Like, it's so bizarre.
I almost want to say that out of the gate is that I've really been enjoying watching Super again. Like, like having new Dragon Ball stuff has been great. It was a little slow. It was a little hard for me to get through the first 2 seasons because I knew how they were going to wrap up, but I still really enjoyed them.
But I think if you haven't started watching it yet, realistically, you're going to be just fine watching the 2 movies, which are fun, they're short, and then moving on right into season 3. There might be some details. I mean, Jocko's in the movies even, but there's some details where it might be a little bit confusing, but I think you'll be fine and you'll save a lot of time. Not that there's not funny moments and great moments within that, but did anything stand out to you, Kyle, about the changes that was interesting?
There's a couple, like, watching the show gives more room for like little character moments and stuff because they have more time, and there's like a couple things that just cracked me up. Like, one that stood out to me is I think in like the 3rd or 4th episode, Goku talks about going to Gohan's house and reveals that he's never been there before.
Yeah.
It's like, why haven't you been to your son's house? You know, you have a granddaughter here, you know?
It is the running joke. We've talked about it a lot, even the interviews on this episode so far, but just like, oh, Goku's kind of a bad dad. And it gets to a point by where we're at in the English dub, at least, where it's like, it's beyond a game. It's like, this is effed up. Like, this is really effed up how negligent he is, to the point of the part that killed me is not only when Gohan at the end of the Frieza saga was like, Return of Frieza saga or whatever, when he's like, oh, I want to be strong again. I want someone to train me to be good. Piccolo, will you train me? It's like, dude, your dad is the strongest person you could possibly get. Why would you not be trained by him? It doesn't even cross his mind. He's like, well, I know he wouldn't do it.
But my dad's a man-child. That's fine. That's
right.
Totally cool.
But the part that killed me was then later on when Goku is flying around trying to recruit 5 people for the tournament in season 3. And he flies to Piccolo and Gohan training. They're standing 3 feet from each other. Goku flies up and he goes, "Hey, Piccolo! Hey, Piccolo!" Doesn't even acknowledge his own son. If they like revealed a secret saga where Gohan tried to murder him, or I don't know what would be so terrible to do as a son to make your father disown him, but that's what it feels like.
You find out like Goku isn't his actual father, so he just resents him, and
or something.
After the Cell Saga, he found out, and so that's why they never spoke again.
Well, because Vegeta is even trying to like recruit Gohan, where he's like talking about the 5 strongest, and Vegeta's like, "Oh, the person with the most latent power is clearly Gohan." And Goku's like, he's not ready.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And there's I do like the scene where Gohan's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to help you guys with this fight." And it's like, well, hold on, I gotta train. Okay, hold on. Let's get 2 days. Okay, well, hold on.
I got this event coming up. Vidal's gonna need me.
It kind of. I love it from like a character sort of like I enjoy that they're willing to let Gohan kind of take a step back and be like, you know what, my dad's the most powerful guy in the world. I'm gonna go just be a family man. But it does kind of make me sad that Gohan's just not the fighter that he used to be, because I always like after the Cell Saga I was like, Gohan's it. You know, like he's the future of making sure the Earth is safe, but obviously that didn't happen. You know,
well, Toriyama even said that in an interview talking about like he started the Buu saga assuming like Gohan was the star of the show. He's like, he's just the new Goku. Goku's getting too old. He's going to be the new Goku. And then he said that throughout the course of drawing and writing the Buu saga, he just realized like Gohan likes studying. Like, I just feel like I understand this character more, and he's not that fighter. Like, that's why we have to go back to Goku as the star of the show. But
it works.
Yeah, but the enticing thing of Gohan is just he always has this power that you feel like he just has to work for it. And there's a couple times throughout the course of the show, obviously Cell Saga, and then kind of when he fights Super Buu again, it's like, oh man, here we go. He's so much stronger than we could possibly imagine. And I hope in Super he eventually gets to that point. As far as I know, I thought they were going to get to that with season 3 after the tease at the end of season 2, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's coming up, but I hope to God that he finally makes good on that.
Yeah, it would be nice to see him go Super Saiyan 3 or something. You know.
But it's crazy to the point where in Super, in the Frieza saga, he says that he doesn't even know if he can go Super Saiyan anymore.
Yeah, he's like, I think I can. I'm pretty sure I can.
It's crazy. But talking about like, you know, more character moments and stuff, even out of the gate, I mean, I wrote down on my notes, which you can see if you're watching the video version because I'm a maniac. It's just like, what is happening? This is so silly. It's like Trunks and Goten trying to find water for Videl that's going to purify her skin. It's weird. But then I love
way to kick off the show.
Yeah, no kidding. And then like Goku is just on the farm working the farmer's life. And with Chi-Chi harassing him that he should be making some sweet promotional bucks.
Yeah. And then, I like Mr. Satan just giving him just a crap ton of money, and then Chi-Chi's like, all right, you can go now. You're good. You brought in some bacon, so go beat up dinosaurs or whatever it is you do when you're never here.
Right. I think it was a cool touch, though, when they showed, I think they had like a wide shot of the farm that he's been working on. There's like craters and pockets because clearly he's been training because he can't resist it. It's very Nathan Drake Uncharted 4. Like you can't keep this man from adventure. He wants to fight.
I do like when we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but I do like when he goes off with Whis. He's like really wants to train with Whis, and he's waiting around at Bulma's house.
Yeah.
And Chi-Chi's like, no, don't go. And then when he finally leaves, she's like, well. Oh well, I tried my best.
It is such a frustrating thing to watch. Just like they'll be like, Goku, you can't. This is irresponsible, and then he doesn't. Whatever. And like Vegeta does that to some degree too with Bulma, just like completely disregarding her. Like, don't go train. Just stop doing that. I know I work for the richest corporation on the planet, but like. Come on. And then he's like, nah, I'm going to go train.
I feel like Vegeta, it's a weird thing, but Vegeta and Bulma's relationship is so much more real. I feel like so much more grounded in Super, but especially compared to Goku and Chi-Chi, where it just seems like, whatever. Like, that whole family's just shattered. I don't think Goku's even talked to Goten in Dragon Ball Super so far. It's insanity. But, like, the Bulma-Vegeta tension, I think, is super fun. And especially comes through the drama where Beerus hits Bulma and Vegeta loses it. Like, there are good moments there.
I feel like in Z, watching Z, like, it really did feel like, oh, they're together? Okay, like Bulma and Vegeta, but now, like, I love when Vegeta finally makes good on that promise to Trunks of like, yeah, we'll go. You landed a hit. I promise that we'll take you to the amusement park, whatever. And I love him just standing on top of the airship as Bulma flies, and it just. And like the way she's like, I'm gonna try to knock you off, like flying through the trees, and he's just stalwart, like, yeah, try your best. Like I feel like I could kind of see why they got together almost to a certain degree,
Yeah. Well, they even
she likes to push him, and like he's just
they're both kind of competitive in their own ways.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. It was interesting when then they had that moment. And it's just a small little moment, but every moment with the wives, I'm sure some people are annoyed because it's not fighting and stuff, but I really love those little glimpses. But there's just a brief one where Chi-Chi and Bulma are talking. Wait, or is it Vegeta? At some point, someone says, they're like, oh, well, the Saiyans, everyone knows that they're naturally attracted to like strong, argumentative women.
Yeah,
and then Piccolo's
Vegeta
like,
and Goku were talking about.
Okay,
I think it's when they briefly have their mustaches, right, for that one scene.
Maybe, yeah.
And
so
like,
Vegeta,
we're attracted to feisty women, and Piccolo has that moment where he's like, "What? It all makes sense."
Well, it's interesting. It's like just this common thing of like, well, everyone knows that about Saiyans, but like Goku didn't know that. It's just like a weird thing. He's following his genes, and turns out he wants a fiery woman.
It came in the pathway from his pod when he fell on Earth. It was there. You like feisty women.
Yeah.
I love that little touch.
I lived it in season 3 just to get the wife stuff out of the way. But in season 3, then when Jocko and Bulma are taken off, it's a strong line in season 3 of things getting more adult and weird and edgy than I expected. But I love when just Vegeta yells at the spaceship when Jocko's taken off. He's like, "You jackass! Don't try any funny business with my wife." It's like calling him a jackass. Think he's gonna get all handsy with Bulma. It's so weird.
I think his reply is like, "I wouldn't try anything with someone that old." And then,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
And let me guess, she said, "How dare you!" and then punches him in a very anime way. That's always good. Character of Beerus, out of the gate. Thoughts on Beerus?
I love him.
I think it's pretty
Jesus
good.
Christ. Come on.
I mean, he was the first sort of character that I'd seen from like Super that I was okay. Here's a new major villain, which is, I don't know. It's his role is kind of weird. But I was like, okay, I guess they'll just throw whatever on there. But watching him, I think I actually did eventually very quickly came to like him as like a character that almost immediately grounds Goku as, no, you're like. Just completely humbles him in terms of, no, you have a lot to work for, because also I'm a god, so I don't know if you'll ever be as strong as I am. But he, like, even as a character, like removed from how strong he is, I think he's a pretty interesting character of just being this sort of king, like royalty in a way, and the relationship between him and Whis, I think, is,
I love it.
Yeah,
just the old gay married couple. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do love the moment where Frieza notices Beerus is there in the fight, which was also in the film too. Where he was just like, oh my, what did you guys will have to correct me from, but I think he said, my dad told me not to mess with two people, Boo and Beerus.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's totally retcon, obviously, like, But I just love the idea that they're at least planting that seed of like, oh yeah, Beerus is like a known quantity that like people have just been kind of quietly hoping would never wake up, you know. And I love that stare he gives Frieza, and he's like, yeah, I'm here. Like, you just keep doing what you're doing. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be around. I'm gonna eat some ice cream. You know,
it is convenient just to say, oh, he's always been around. But even just the flashbacks, I love to like Planet Vegeta and having Vegeta's dad worshiping Beerus, like trying to make him happy, and Vegeta has to run and get the most comfortable pillow, or he makes his dad get the most comfortable pillow of all time, or even just the level of freaking Shenron being horrified by the existence of Beerus to the point that he turns into it's just the most cartoony ass funny crap of Shenron with just like anime sweat, like, oh Lord Beerus,
I didn't know you were gonna be here.
It's so stupid. And then even Vegeta ends up calling Shenron pathetic at a certain point. I love the idea of just Shenron being a punchline. The most mystical part has even been belittled in this comedy setting, just like F you, Shenron.
Yeah, he talks so much in Super, it's crazy.
I bet he's pretty close to just fighting alongside them. Being the wacky compatriot. But Beerus, I love the character. I think it really works. The tension, I'm maybe a moron, but just the tension set up in both the movie and that first season of him going around sampling food and like at the party, and Vegeta knows how scary it is and everyone else just has him perfectly on edge. It is just such a perfect collision of all Dragon Ball personalities in this like interesting setting of just what if everything clashed like this, and you can see very clearly what's balancing where. It's such a fun dynamic to have Vegeta trying just to have everyone be cool to Beerus, but like around Bulma during her birthday party, like she's going to be more feisty, and Boo is there trying to eat pudding or some crap. You know, Oolong is rock, paper, scissor contest. Like, it's such a wacky mix of personalities.
There's that weird subplot where young Pilaf and Mai, they're all trying to sneak aboard the ship to steal like the MacGuffin, basically, like the Dragon Ball, I think it is. And like that kind of doesn't really go anywhere. Like,
no,
I guess they kind of lost track. It's fun to see those guys again, I guess, for the old timers, but it doesn't pay off in the biggest way possible, I guess, other than, you know, a couple of botched wishes and all that stuff. But the downside to Beerus, I think his personality pulls through. I think his design is okay. I love Whis as a character, but there's something about not having that much tension in the fight when you know that it's basically just there
aren't really that the stakes are kind of like weirdly like I mean the fate of the world isn't like whatever, but by the time Goku fights Beerus, there aren't really that many, like the stake isn't really there. You're not really okay, if I lose this he's gonna kill us or whatever, but like you sort of feel it because that's sort of the threat, but you never get the feeling that like, all right, this is it, he's got to pull it out, like he has to pull out all the stops. And even when it doesn't happen, it's just like kind of like, I don't know.
And then especially because it ends with, and then Beerus fell asleep. End of fight. It's just, it feels like an exhibition match, even though he is so
same thing.
I like how the movie ended.
Yeah, same thing with the Frieza thing, I think.
Really?
Yeah, of like, I am here to fight you. I guess maybe I'll destroy the world if you lose, but I'm basically here to get I want to beat you, and I don't care what else.
Well, I feel like the Frieza, I don't know how intentional it was on their part, but I feel like it feels very much like they're trying to make it a stark contrast with the Beerus tension and Beerus drama, where like, Beerus, they didn't really hate each other. He's powerful, but he's kind of abstract and kind of distant. He's just hungry. That's his personality. I don't know what's going on in Japan, by the way, and why everything comedic is... These characters are really horny or really hungry. There's like the two notes throughout all of Dragon Ball. Where just
anime in general. Everyone's always hungry. They just need
what is that?
They just need bigger portions.
Oh, just overall Japanese dishes. I understand. But anyways, no, with Frieza, like there's even a line that Krillin has where he's like, "Oh, you can really feel the hate in the air." Like they really try and drive it home that like this is night and day from that Beerus fight where there's no more good, genuine hating character than Frieza throughout all of Dragon Ball. You know. But you feel like it still doesn't come through?
I do think the stakes are different, but I feel like parts of their conversation, which I can't necessarily reference specifically, it feels like this is a grudge match, not a fight for the fate of the world.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like there is tension there, but it's not sort of on the level of like, if we don't stop, Boo or Cell, like they're just gonna destroy the world. Like it's over if they lose.
Well, what do you think about season 3's tension?
I think it works a little bit better. I think it's higher just because of the idea of different universes coming into play, but it still doesn't feel like the stakes they feel a little more abstract of like if Universe 6. If Universe 6 wins, something like
they swap Earth.
They swap Earth. Like, how does that affect the planet? Like, who knows? Like, it doesn't feel.
Is it all the people on Earth have to go to crappy Earth in the other universe?
I guess so.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and so I think the tension there is more like Goku and Vegeta wanting to prove how strong they are versus like we need to step up and do something.
I think you're right for like the larger scale, but actually like the drama minute to minute, I feel like it works better. Where even in these fights, if a character dies, realistically, there's going to be wished back. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But even though it's not a matter of life and death, I feel like it adds a lot of drama to the fights in season 3, having like that rule set. I think it's super fun where it's like, if you touch the ground, you're out. If you touch this enclosure, you're out of the ring completely. And just having Vegeta like trying not to touch the wall and like shooting the blast to stop himself just in time, that worked on a tension level more than is Krillin going to die? Because ultimately I don't care too much.
Yeah, I'm more engaged by the fights in season 3 just because a lot of it is like figuring out like who are these people.
They're all freaks.
Yeah, how are they related? How are they related to our universe?
Yeah,
and what is the fight going to be like? It's more like watching a puzzle kind of unfold, like especially with the robot and Vegeta. Yeah, it's like, how is he going to get out of this? So in that way,
it's so hot in there.
It's super hot, and that's like what we were talking about earlier, where Vegeta just won't give in. Like the simple response of like, Vegeta, fly lower, it will help you tremendously, and he's just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm more, and it could also be a product of me having watched the films,
Yeah.
But where I am more engaged by the season 3 stuff, and we kind of talked about it a little bit early on of just like from a distance when I kind of learned secondhand, I was like, what, they have alternate universes? I was like, man, that they've run out of people for Goku to fight.
It's
so now
a Marvel
he has to fight.
Crap.
And I didn't like it, but then after watching it, I really like it a lot. Like I love learning about Frost. And I like seeing the alternate version of Planet Vegeta.
That's amazing.
Like, I really. So that aspect of it.
Okay, the Vegeta thing is so interesting because in Universe 6, well, first of all, I really got into the idea of having this mathematical rule where it's like, no, there are 12 universes. Every pair of universes that adds up to 13, they're sister universes.
Yeah. It's that rule set that Dragon Ball's
fascinating.
Really good about.
It's a useless
There's no
detail
confusion here.
Yeah, it's a useless detail where it's like, oh, okay, I now have something to remember specifically instead of just, I don't know, alternate universes. But the idea that, oh no, it's, what is it, Universe 12 and 1, they're a partner, yada yada, extending on beyond that. But the Saiyan stuff I think is so fascinating because it's so easy when you introduce like an evil twin, which is basically what the idea of Saiyans from another universe would be, to have them be the super evil ones. And I love the twist of the Saiyans in that race are the sheriffs of the galaxy, and they're like, what? Your planet Vegeta? You just ran around and conquered other planets? Like, what the hell? Like, I love the idea of just like this shame for how barbaric the Saiyans are in our universe.
And it's one of those few moments that Vegeta really felt like he's always pushing against the idea that like, you're a good guy now. Like it's in Battle of Gods, they were like, you have a pure heart now, and he's like, no, I don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
But then when talking to that kid, he's like, don't worry, we're okay now. We're the good guys now, which I really appreciate it.
Because we're the only ones left. Don't question it. I won't go into it. I'm one episode ahead of you, Kyle.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite episode of season 3.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that includes the Saiyan fight, the Saiyan from Universe 6. I think it's
I've
really
watched
cool.
up to the end of the robot fight.
Okay. Yeah. You know what's coming up next.
Yeah. I've started the Goku Black thing, but it's
really?
I don't want to spoil sort of the rest of that saga, but I think it goes places. I think it does.
It goes places. Huh?
It goes places. Yeah.
Do you like it? Did you like it more than the first 2?
Yeah. As a season, I definitely enjoyed it more than the first 2.
There's a weird stretch at the start of season 3 where it's like these episodes back to back where it's like, holy cow, you guys! Like when Jocko and Bulma go to see Master Zudo after Vegeta says, "Don't F my wife," when they go see Master Zudo, and it's like talking about Bulma's boob size for a while and like her dimensions, and then Jocko at a certain point said, "Oh, Bulma, your brain's getting as saggy as your boobs." It's like, you jerk! It's like, what the hell is this? And then
they're all friends.
And then like next scene, it's Boo in the travel cube in his pants. It's like, what the hell is this? And then right after that, the ultimate fighter in the universe or whatever that Beerus introduces is like, I'm nipples. I have very large nipples. It's like, okay, I love silly Dragon Ball, but like this string of back to back poop and nipple jokes. Like, what are we doing here?
I do like though the idea that Vegeta comes up with a rule that ultimately screws his own team of like, we have to do a written test.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Blue just completely cannot do it.
Of course.
That was.
They should be able to understand the rules.
What was the logic? I feel like they were referencing something with the need to do a written test.
They didn't want them to bring in like monsters.
Yeah,
like
right? People who who don't have a consciousness, basically.
I love how, I know we love the strict rules of Dragon Ball, but it's pretty murky in this competition. Like, I think that guy has a weapon. No, that's part of his body. Like, hey, that's a robot. It doesn't count. Well, the metal men from our universe are actually living creatures. Like, what does anything mean anymore?
The molten lava in his body is technically in his body.
So stupid.
He probably sucked it up from outside, but right now it's inside him.
Even dumb shit like Frost and his weird little putting you to sleep spike, where it's like, he's like, oh, it's part of my body. He never says it's or admits it's a weapon, but they just claim it's a weapon.
True.
And he also has the other one where it's like he I guess removes the needle and it's just acid. So it's like, how are you supposed to use those two in conjunction? Like, is it the same thing in just different amounts, or do you just swap with by flexing your wrist or something?
So were you into that twist of? I love the idea of nice Frieza and him like smiling in the beginning, and then the twist of he's just a smart businessman. I was like, I don't really care too much.
It was funny. My wife and I were watching it and like arguing about it. I was like, no, I think he's really good. Like, I think this is the alternate. Dude, like the other side of the universe, like, this version of Frieza would be good. And she was like, no, that guy's a bad guy. I know it. And then when the twist came, she was just like, I told you. I was like, all right.
Hell of a twist. I love the way he dies, though. You've seen that, right? It's not in that episode. Beyond.
Well, he's not dead.
He loses.
Right?
No, I mean,
we're hit.
Yeah. He hit comes by and blows him up.
He's like sitting on the bench.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought he blew him up forever.
Unless they carried a dead body back to the bench.
Oh,
it really?
Yeah,
he either looks really dejected or he looks asleep.
Not knowing where this is going, Hit just seems so cool. I love this bounty hunter, kind of like in a long trench coat. Like JV mentioned the Western thing earlier. It just feels like this weird Western character like I've never seen in Dragon Ball before.
The idea that the strongest fighter they have in their universe is just like some hitman.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm the king of everything, or like I'm the greatest warrior. It's like, no, I just do it for work.
He is literally the
I'm just
hitman.
really good at my job.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you guys think about power levels, transformations, and Super overall?
I feel like Super Saiyan Blue is kind of like already old hat at this point. It feels like there is Super Saiyan and then everything else is disregarded. Super Saiyan Blue is where it's at, and it already feels like that is already kind of matched by a lot of the opponents they're facing.
Well, at least where I'm at, it seems like they're just hesitant to go there. But
they haven't.
I'm sure
where Hanson and I, they haven't gone blue in the tournament yet. Even Vegeta didn't. He should have.
But even even in the Frieza Resurrection F, it feels like Super Saiyan like this is stronger than the thing that almost like was able to hurt Beerus. To some degree, and Frieza's already able to match it just by like, I came out of retirement, they powered me up. It's not that hard, you guys.
That whole idea of like Frieza's like, I've never trained, and I trained for a couple months, and now I'm as powerful as Super Saiyan Blue. It's absurd.
Yeah, like so it already feels like they're gonna have to come up with something stronger, but I don't know.
I'm amazed how quickly they shed the Super Saiyan Red or Super Saiyan God form. Where it's like
that had potential, I think.
Well, I think it looked kind of cool, but then just that idea of, I think they even addressed it, like, you know what it's like to be a god, so now you kind of internalize that power and you get it.
I guess the idea was, I mean, how do you continue doing that
with the 5 people?
Yeah, because like you always need 5 Saiyans, I guess. You know,
maybe that's why they kind of threw it by the wayside.
Maybe it's that Toriyama thing of like, oh wait, this isn't gonna work. Let's figure. Oh, he's blue hair now, and that'll.
Is the implication? Am I reading too much into this? But I think they implied that like the default Goku is basically a god now. I think they said something to that effect. Like he remembers what it's like to the point that basically the god form, the red hair form, is internally he feels that way all the time.
So it's weird because like Vegeta can do it too at this point. Like,
for the blue, yeah.
So it's kind of weird. Like, how did they have have a ritual for me too, guys? Make me into a god, and then I'll learn what it's like, and then I'll turn into Super Saiyan Blue.
That training stuff was one of the few times where I was really annoyed with Goku. Where Vegeta's like training with Whis, trying to get stronger. I think it's fun having those training montages and just having Goku stumbling like, well, let's not wake up Beerus. Well, it's like, and Vegeta, I just love that he's just conveying the audience message. It's like, shut up, you idiot. Just train. Like, this is a once in a lifetime opopportunity. Don't be such a wacky idiot for just a couple minutes.
Poor Vegeta is just locked in with that like powerful dunce for the rest of his life. Like he's never gonna find a better training partner.
But he's the strongest person in the universe. God damn it, why him?
I think I always love the emotional aspect of like getting into the minds of how it feels to be, you know, through these transformations. And I love the detail of Whis' training being like, you guys through your Super Saiyan form, you're just leaking too much energy. Like it's that simple. Like you're just letting it all drain out of you. And so it seems like the overall purpose of the God training is just if you're more focused and compact and leak less of your energy out,
and it's like a more like you're less thoughtful almost about combat, right? Was like another takeaway.
Yeah. Don't think so much.
Yeah, just let your body react, sort of.
Yeah.
And they do a pretty good job of enforcing it, of like the difference between Goku having like, I'm just gonna fire as much energy as I can, and Beerus is like, I have this tiny little ball. It has other little balls surrounding it or whatever, and I'm just going to chuck that. And that's all the energy I need. I'm going to blow up this entire planet with this precise amount of energy.
Yeah.
So I think they do a good job of like enforcing that through the visuals as well.
Is there anything you guys don't like about Super?
We talked about it a little earlier. It's weird. I think the younger version of me would not have liked it.
Yeah.
Because it's more humorous. But like I do like it now. Like now that I've come to like take it less seriously overall, and I feel like the creators have too. But yeah, it's tough to pinpoint if there's anything like it starts out pretty slow. I don't like that it was just a retelling of the films. It is genuinely funny. Like we talk about that tractor line a lot where Mr. Satan pretends to hit Goku and Goku flies off. Did you watch this in English? Do you know this episode, or did you watch it in Japanese?
I watched that in English.
Okay, and he just like he's flying off and he's like, "Oh God, I forgot my tractor!"
And then he goes and picks up the tractor. It's amazing timing.
Like just really genuine laughter from me on that kind of stuff. But
also on the funny front, a couple of things absolutely killed me. One was when Jocko, it's Jocko, right?
Yeah,
I'm not blowing it. When everyone's getting ready to go to the tournament in season 3 and Jocko's like hyping up the King of the Galaxy. Like, oh my gosh, they're going to pay you so much respect. You have to meet the King of the Galaxy. And then he tries to introduce him and just no one cares about this dumb tentacle thing with a crown called the King of the Galaxy. I'm just a sucker for anything that looks stupid. And everyone's like, okay, whatever, moving on. Like we're so much beyond even caring about the concept of a King of a Galaxy. It's so absurd. And then the other part that killed me was before they start the tournament in season 3, and there's the dumb penguin with a bow tie guy, and he's singing the Universal Anthem. And it's like this huge buildup. Oh my God, hang on. What is the actual line? And then
Goku punching Krillin, we've talked about before, is really great.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's just something like after this huge buildup. Oh yeah, here he goes. The entire anthem is, "It's a big universe, and there's two."
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So stupid.
I will say that like to speak to what Kyle was saying about sort of not liking it back, to say that he wouldn't have liked it when he was a kid. I feel like the stakes, like we talked about before, they're not like at the level of like, okay, this is it, guys. Like that is sort of the thing that is missing.
Yeah.
But I guess in its absence is sort of this lighter tone and sort of more focusing on the idea of this universe versus, it's all about how these guys fight in it, and focusing more on like there's all these planets and things like that. I think that stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah, and things that aren't appreciated, even with Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I love the Bruce Falconer soundtrack and whatnot. Just sound design in general in Dragon Ball, I think, is underrated. But the cinematography in Dragon Ball Z, and even with Dragon Ball Super, and I'm sure a lot of this comes from the manga, which I've never read because I'm not hardcore enough of a fan, but just so many of those shots, like, God, it looks so cool. Even for like action movies, I've never seen shots like this. And, the animation here and there, as far as the fights go, but there's just so many distinct shots. Each episode has at least one where it's like, God, that looks so cool. And it doesn't give enough credit.
It looks, I will say, and it could totally 100% be nostalgia, but especially when they put it side by side, because they'll have like they'll remember something from Z, and they show the kind of older art style. I do prefer it. Like now it looks a lot more like computerized. It looks less hand drawn.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I don't like that, but I'm willing to chalk that up to just my nostalgia for the original show.
No, I mean it's definitely more. It feels like the early licensing out of material, right? Where it's like a funky looking Mickey Mouse at times. There's something charming about characters being more inconsistent.
It looks like there's some Flash maybe in there a little bit, like Flash animation.
Oh, in the new one?
Yeah, where like the original looked very hand-drawn.
I think they used Final Flash to actually animate it.
Yeah.
That's a small detail. I love that they're getting back to those specific moves, especially in the tournament. Like there's moments where Vegeta's fighting and Goku's like, I haven't seen that move forever. And it's like, oh, he's doing the Galagon. This is crazy.
Yeah, where he had his hand kind of turned.
Yeah. Or even he uses, Final Flash and actually shouts it out. I mean, am I not remembering it? I feel like they don't say the names of moves very often, even like through the Boo saga or towards the end of Z.
Yeah, Kamehameha.
Squeeze it back in.
I think up to now, I think maybe they just explain the character will explain whatever move they're about to do and then just do it.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I'm going to do this now and call it this name and then double check it.
Just the timeline wise, I understand it's not exactly overriding GT, but it kind of gets murky. Do you guys consider GT canon at this point? Is it going to be weird because
I can't imagine it. It is?
Well, I think it is, but so all of Super is existing in this time frame before the jump for the final episode of Dragon Ball Z. It gets so confusing thinking about all this happening between that.
I mean, Toriyama, I think he has said that like he was disappointed with GT, but I don't think he's ever flat out said like, I don't consider it true. I mean, he was involved with it, right?
Yeah, they haven't Superman 3
It was not based on a manga is the big thing, right? So I think, I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's still canon. I haven't really watched it. I'm not particularly interested in watching it.
It's kind of fun having, I know it's a GT thing, but also End of Z. But it was nice that they acknowledged Oob existing in Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, it was when they were trying to gather up their team, right? It's like, well, he's not ready yet. He's off somewhere doing something. We'll worry about him later, right? Kind of.
Yeah. Like he's not grown up yet.
Yeah.
He's still way too young. And I kind of wish that it could jump forward in time. I guess not to spoil things for the English viewers, but eventually it gets to like future Trunks stuff. And I'm very curious how that works in this timeline because Trunks is still so young. So they do another time travel bit. Like I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, I haven't gotten far enough to know.
Yeah. So. It's a real thrill, as you mentioned, Kyle, to watch new fantastically dubbed versions of Dragon Ball on a weekly basis. It's really crazy.
It's exciting to watch Dragon Ball and like I said, kind of intentionally not know what's going to happen next. Like I've almost purposefully, but just been watching the show and, as opposed to looking it up or watching Japanese, like every week, I've been enjoying watching it for sure.
Absolutely. Hey, if you're excited about the future of Dragon Ball, check out our hub talking about Dragon Ball FighterZ, the new game from Arc System Bandai Namco, DragonBall.com. Wait, no. GameInformer.com/DBZ. It's the place to be. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on this long Dragon Ball journey.
Let's do it again in like 2 months.
Yeah.
Watch more, and then we'll do it on the back half of a podcast.
I would love to talk more
Tweet
about
at
Super.
Yozetti. Tell him you want us to do that.
There we go. Please do it. Yeah, definitely. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to send it to a friend. We'd appreciate it. We did it for the Dragon Ball fans out there, so I hope that Dragon Ball fans find it. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.